Okay, so now go.
So my topic today is the United States losing international credibility? People are going to die. North Korea rises in power in the Middle East, and the Syrian conflict rages, in the Far East, the Syrian conflict rages in the Middle East. Dehumanization and starvation sweep through Africa, and natural disasters devastate the world. And the United States is looking more and more like a child, whining that they want it done their way, or they want it now, and if they don't get their way, they're going to complain until something gets changed. So when asked today's imperative question of whether or not the United States is losing its international credibility, the answer is an obvious yes. And this is because the United States is isolating itself, is ruining its foreign relations, and also is cooperating less. And this can be seen through three main points. The United States refuses to acknowledge the Iran deal. The United States is deteriorating trade deals. And finally, the United States is placing sanctions on China and Russia. Moving on to my first point. As the United States refuses to acknowledge the Iran deal that it helped draft. And this can best, an article from the Moscow Times on October 16th, 2017, best reports this when it states that the United States refuses to certify Iran as having fulfilled their end of the bargain, despite the fact that they have done exactly that and more. And they, in fact, that exact article referred to the United States as, referred to this as, quote, petty tyranny. And we can see that this is devastating our foreign relations, not just with Russia. We can also assume that this exact thing is being recognized by other countries all over the world. And this is leading to the establishment of the United States as not just a pouty child, but a petty tyrant, which is the opposite of what America, the ideals that America was founded upon. And this is hugely devastating, not just America, but also the world, because now America can't step up and take charge. But not only are we sabotaging just our relations, we're also sabotaging our economy, which brings me to my second point. The United States is deteriorating its trade deals, and this can be seen through two different instances. First with the NAFTA, and second with the TPP. So in NAFTA, an article from October 31st, 2017 stated that the United States was threatening to leave NAFTA, a 23-year-old trade deal between Canada, Mexico, and the United States of America. And then, but that wasn't, and not that was bad enough, but also the very next day, an article from BBC published September 1st, 2017, states that Mexico is already renegotiating with the United States. It took a whole day for Mexico, it took one day for Mexico to want to renegotiate the deal. And this reinforces that idea that the United States is just a whiny child waiting until it gets its way and complaining until someone else steps up to change something, rather than changing something themselves and threatening drastic action. This can also be seen in the Trans-Pacific Partnership. The United States left the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and in its absence, China was able to not just take over the Trans-Pacific Partnership, but also establish hegemony within the region, within Southeast Asia, because of the lack of absence of the United States, which caused the spread of, which can very well cause the spread of China's communism, which leads to dehumanization and corrupt officials, which causes that. And because of this, not only are we just sabotaging, not only are we losing our own influence and decreasing our interaction with Canada and Mexico and Southeast Asia, we're also giving away our influence and giving away our influence to communism, which we fought to inhibit for so many years. But that's not all the United States is doing to tarnish its reputation. It's also enforcing sanctions on Russia and China for their interactions with North Korea. In fact, as an article reports from the New York Times on October 15th, 2017, it essentially states that it essentially talks about how the United States is imposing trade deals or sanctions on Russia and China due to their interaction with North Korea. And because of this, because of these trade deals and because of these sanctions, we can see that this is going to lead to an even further detriment to the United States' relation with Russia and China. It's already being called a petty Russia. It's already being called a petty tyrant in Russia. So obviously, we can see that the foreign relations are going to deteriorate even further. But also, an article on CNN from September 28th, 2017, states that China is already taking action to sever its economic ties with North Korea. And because of this, we can see that China isn't doing anything wrong yet. They're still getting sanctions from the United States, which is making the United States seem even more like they just can't get enough. Even after the United Nations placed sanctions on North Korea, the United States wasn't satisfied, so they placed sanctions on Russia and China. In conclusion, today we looked at whether or not the United States is losing its international influence. And we can see that this is an obvious yes due to the fact that the United States refuses to acknowledge the Iran deal, deteriorates its trade deals, and places unnecessary sanctions, which all leads back to the United States cooperating less and isolating itself more and just whining and complaining until they get their way. And until the United States can sort out their foreign relations, people are going to die.